ESPN is, I think, afraid of any kind of ist, and thus they have catered, I think, to women, African American. But Sage Steele is both. This, to me, reeks of it being different for one reason and one reason only. Sage doesn't hold on to the liberal views of ESPN. That's the reason here, is it not?
Absolutely. And Dan, I'm the only person, and I mean this sincerely, that has criticized the women in sports media. You've never seen anybody else criticize Katie Nolan, Sarah
I
Spain,
did.
Jamel Hill. Maybe you did. Maybe you did. Maybe two of us. The two of us. And someone asked me about a year ago, they're like, wait, so you just can't criticize the women in sports media because you'll be called sexist, or if they're African American, be called racist and sexist, a double dose. And I said, that applies to everybody but Sage Steele. She's in her own category, because here's what it comes down to, Dan, is that media critics and agents and talents, they're all communicating, and they know that if you go after Mina Kimes, you're going to be called all those terms. You're going to have a bunch of verified Twitter accounts come after you. You'll have places like the Richard Deiches of the world and Awful Announcing call you a bunch of names. See, nobody's going to do that if you criticize Sage Steele, because they deem her as this right-wing conspiracy theorist, or as Deadspin would say, a wannabe Candace Owens. So she's just in a complete island when it comes to media coverage. And the same thing as far as ESPN's disciplinary issues, because, and I wrote this yesterday, ESPN knows if they tell Mina Kimes, hey, don't endorse a Democratic candidate, that some of her allies in the press, probably like the Kevin Drapers and those types, will say, hey, here, look at ESPN telling a minority woman that she can't endorse another minority woman. Just that thought terrifies ESPN. But if they suspend or bench Sage Steele, to use an euphemism that they did, nobody's going to write that. So ESPN feels safer to punish Sage Steele because they know they won't get the pushback from other people. It's the entire media game is rigged by all these people being in cahoots, and they gang up on select few, and Sage Steele right now is the one outlier.
Oh, there's no question about it. Look, Bobby, I've said, if you want your broadcast to be praised, just hire a woman, because nobody criticizes a woman broadcaster ever. And I got to tell you, I've been all over the Miami Heat radio broadcast with Jason Jackson and Ruth Riley, whatever the hell her name is literally known as the worst broadcast in the sport, whether TV. And I turned it on one time and I'm like, my God, and Jason Jackson's a friend of mine. This is so horrendous. Like, it is so bad. This Ruth Riley doesn't know her backside from third base. But if you can't criticize, because if you do, then you're an ist. And I got to tell you, ESPN should be above worrying about it. They've had all kind of situations, but they just keep going. I don't know why they would worry about all this stuff.
And this comes down to a trend that I have covered, I would say, for 3 years now. And it's that these content providers, they cater not to their fans, but their critics. And what it means by that is when ESPN making a programming decision, they're not thinking about what a bunch of NFL fans that spent all Sunday drinking beer watching football think. They're wondering what their critics are going to say. So they know when they promote someone like Mina Kimes or, three-time failed TV host Bomani Jones, that their critics will say, there you go, ESPN, that was a right move. So they're making these decisions not for people that watch their content, but people that criticize their content. The worst thing a media company can do, or an entertainment company can do, is to value their critics above their fans. And you see so many do that. And that is why there's been such a decline in interest of this content, including places like Netflix, which is trying to reverse course right now. So that is exactly what ESPN's doing. So I make a prediction right now. When ABC gets to Super Bowl in 2026, Mina Kimes will be on that set, because ESPN knows that press release saying we've promoted Mina Kimes to the main NFL desk for the Super Bowl, they know that will buy them time with their critics because they will just cherish the moment that ESPN kicked off somebody like Rex Ryan from Mina Kimes.
Serving the sports fans everywhere is total crap. I mean, I was in there 10 years and it's total crap. I mean, that's like it's just serving our critics to get them off our ass is what it is. I want to go to something. I didn't really have this in any type of rundown, but, well, maybe I did, but you brought it up. Netflix, Dave Chappelle comes out of this whole deal pretty good, does he not?
I wrote a column in November after Dave Chappelle dared to perform comedy, made some jokes about the LGBT community, and just the entire mob told Netflix, hey, this guy's transphobic, take his special, the closer off Netflix, fire this guy, suspend this guy, take down his billboards. And Netflix pretty much said, no, we're not going to do that. And that was the first time, Dan, that one of these major companies really stood up to cancel culture and said, no, we're not going to listen. And what happened? Nothing happened, because cancel culture only works if the targets comply. And Netflix said, we're not going to comply because Dave Chappelle is so valuable to us. And the quick result is Netflix and Dave Chappelle won. The cancel culture losers lost because Netflix wouldn't cave. And my point, and this was when I wrote about it in November, is that they're showing the rest of the industry, you don't have to listen to these people. These people are shallow. They're not nearly as strong as they act like they are. They're paper tigers. And Netflix is continuing that trend. Last week, releasing a memo to staffers saying, we're not a place for censorship. And if you want us to censor our content providers for things that you deem offensive, maybe Netflix is not the place for you. And that is so encouraging, because now that Netflix paved that path, it's going to allow other people to say, wait a minute, we don't have to fire this person. We don't have to demote this woman, because Netflix showed that these guys aren't going to do anything if we don't. You've seen Spotify take a similar approach, saying, we're not going to kick Joe Rogan off for asking questions about the COVID vaccine. So I'm encouraged by the impact Netflix can have by standing up to the mob, saying, all right, we're not going to listen. And what are you guys going to do now? And it's also a bit disheartening to show that how many companies have caved to these people, because all they had to do is say, no, we're not going to comply. And once you say that, these guys on Twitter, they just become angry tweeters. They have no real influence inside your company unless you grant them that power.